Hi, this is Marcel of Marcel on Tech, and today I'm very pleased and honored actually to have been asked to do a review on this lovely looking tablet. Now this is the Blackview Tab 16 Pro from the lovely people at Blackview, and they were very kind. They actually sent me over this unit to review for them, but the best part is they didn't tell me anything about what to say, and that's why I'm doing it, because actually I really appreciate that they just wanted my honest opinion and to produce a video based on what my thoughts are of this tablet. So I'm going to share those with you now. We'll take a closer look at it itself and let's see if this is something you want to consider, because it's great value for money. Let's get into it. Okay, so let's take a closer look. Now I'm going to get a nice good look at this tablet for you to see much clearer, but I just wanted to share with you the fact that I was very surprised about what came inside the box. And this is the beauty of ordering things that are obviously not so mainstream. Blackview is obviously predominantly a Chinese brand, but they are growing massively. There are links in the description, of course, below if you want to go and check out the specs and what it looks like, and of course the very reasonable price, because let's face it, this is going to be a budget tablet. But is it worth the money that you have to spend in order to get it? And what would it be comparable to? So this is going to be in the category of 200 euros. And for that, you're getting a lot more than what you would get on average from the likes of Samsung, Lenovo, those types of tablets. But is it still worth it? Because inside the box here, you're definitely going to get a lot more than what you've paid for from any other company. So let's dive in and take a closer look. Okay, so here we have the actual device itself. So before we look at the panel, let's look at the back side. Now you may notice that there are some sticky marks here because they love to have these really adhesive stickers on the back of these. This is quite common for Chinese brands, which contains all the IMEI numbers and so on, which is why I'm not going to show it to you. But taking it off is a little bit tricky, but it's not impossible, of course. So let's take a little look. We've got two cameras here. One is a 13 megapixel and the other is an 8 megapixel. Now, I will put some previews of the video and photo qualities of that. But again, as with most tablets, you're not going to go out and film with this thing. So I wouldn't worry too much about the camera qualities. And of course, you've got a camera on the front there as well. But if we turn around to the front, you may already see very quickly there is a built-in screen protector. Fantastic. We've got the camera at the top there. And we also have the screen here. Now, in fairness, this is an IPS panel. I have to say, I am quite impressed with the poppy colors that you've got here. This is a wallpaper built within the tablet. Of course, you can always install your own, but the wallpaper is actually very colorful, very vibrant. If we look into the corners, of course, we might start to see a little bit of washout, etc. But the pixel count is not very high. It's only 260. So for anyone who's a pixel peeper, that's not a huge amount, which means you're going to see a little bit of granulation in some of your apps, etc. So it's not going to be the crispiest panel at all, but again, we're paying for a budget device here. Now, if we continue to look around the design, we've got a speaker on the left side, we've got a speaker on the right side, and we do have a dual SIM card tray, which is actually very impressive. So we can have a SIM card in here, and we can also have expandable memory. They say up to 1 terabyte in memory. I haven't tested out the expandability yet. This device comes with 8 gigs of RAM and it's got 256 of memory. Now, of course, sometimes the spec sheets, which I'll put a picture of here on the corner, are a little bit different from what the reality are. So sometimes you have to take it with a little bit of a grain of salt. If we open up some of the device's brains here, we can actually see that it is running some pretty good specs in fairness. Obviously, we're working at 60 Hertz. The screen image size is 10.9. And obviously, it's got a 7,700 milliamp battery as well, which is pretty decent, to be fair. And I found that this device can charge up pretty quickly. but it is obviously discharging relatively quickly. It's not the most power efficient, but it does go into sleep mode really, really well because it is actually running Android 14, which is somewhat of a surprise. So I was quite pleased with that actually, because of course I do have the security release of October of last year. So that is obviously one of the downsides to getting one of these devices, in that it doesn't tend to be the most up-to-date with security patches, but it is running Android 14 at least. So let's now take a look at what is inside the box. Now this is where you get more than you expect. So first and foremost, it comes with a case. It's already actually inside the case when it arrives, which is a perfectly well-suited, well-built protective case that will cover the whole device, and obviously it fits perfectly. It even has the sleep to wake function, which it absolutely should. Sometimes when I've left the device alone and then I pick it up, it starts buzzing and making sounds because it will wake up because it detects that you have picked it up, which is pretty good. Inside the box, we've also got a wall charger, which is actually European appropriate. 18 watt, so it's not the least powerful, but at least you get it in the box and that's available there. You've also got a SIM ejector tool. That's very, very handy, always handy in fact, especially because you can put a SIM card in there. Of course, you get a USB Type-C to A power cable as well, so that's always useful to have in the box. And you get a stylus, which works quite simply. Now, this is one of the stylus with a little nib here, which is not necessarily my favorite form of stylus, but it works nonetheless, and it is acceptable, and it's a bonus that it comes inside the box. Now, in terms of graphic design and doing any sort of drawing on this, not necessarily something I would suggest for any professionals, but for fun and for amateur and for just note-taking, this absolutely works. And again, inside the box, you've got an awful lot of goodies, most of which means you're not going to need any additional or peripheral items. Okay, so let's talk about some of the potential problems with this panel. There are two major problems that I've discovered, which are, one, it doesn't get super bright. So this is maximum brightness, and it isn't really enough if you're outside in broad daylight. So as you can see, it's incredibly reflective, of course, which is standard for most tablets, except some of the newer ones with appropriate coating. But it is quite reflective, and in broad daylight or in sunlight, you're going to really struggle to see this panel. But if you're in shade or in a slightly darker area, it's going to be okay. But the second issue that you have is the sound. And unfortunately, these speakers, only being two of them, are not loud enough. If you're outdoors and there's very much ambient noise, you're going to really struggle to hear. If you're at home, if you're in a quiet environment, you're going to have absolutely no problem at all. And for gaming as well, it is absolutely fine and perfectly acceptable. So those are absolutely fine as long as the environment is quiet. It's relatively light in the hand, which is good. That makes it nice and easy. But what you might be able to tell is that it is a little bit choppy because, of course, it's running a basic SoC on board, which is not the most powerful by any means, but everything works and is installed. But it's a little bit janky, it's a little bit jumpy, but it is what you would expect for this price and budget device. Okay, so let's take a little look at those cameras and see how they are. Okay, so this is the forward-facing camera, which is an 8-megapixel camera, and in fairness, on screen, this actually looks quite clear. It's incredibly close, I appreciate that. Let me back that up a little bit. But this is also using the built-in mics, so you judge for yourself whether these are any good. And actually, for me, picture quality is actually extremely good. I'm very surprised. Okay, so this is the reverse camera where we're working with 13 megapixel, and this should allow for 1080p. The front-facing camera is only 720, but on screen it did look nice and clear. You tell me whether the audio quality is any better and the visual quality is also better as well. So that was a closer look at the Blackview Tab 16 Pro. Is it something you would consider? Is it something that you like the look of? Put a comment below, I'd love to know. There will be links in order for you to order one for yourself. Those are affiliate links. Apparently I get a little kickback if you do that, would really appreciate that. This is a contender because of what you get inside the box, because it is one of those devices that you could potentially give to a young child, because it's not going to break the bank. It's got a fully protected case inside the box, and you've got some additional peripherals which could be really useful for art generation, note-taking, students, etc. That it could be useful for storage because it's got expandable memory, and of course you can be connected at all times because it also has built-in SIM card reader, so that could be extremely useful for you. But I'd love to know what you think. Please do put a comment below. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you very, very soon in my next one. Bye-bye for now.